Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, friends and colleagues, it's so nice to see you all here in Espoo for the annual Forestry Technology Platform and the launch of a unique document for our sector, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. I would like to start by thanking the organizers that put in an tremendous amount of work, excellent, and also those who are represented here and present with posters. It's so nice to have a sort of speed dating with the future every time we have a coffee or walk outside this very beautiful hall. As was mentioned in the introduction, I'm the current chair of Södra, Skogsägarna, 52,000 family forest owners in the south of Sweden, 3,000 employees and 2,000 entrepreneurs that drives this whole cycle, all from growing forests, managing forests, trying to fulfill all the 270 criteria you have to fulfill if you work with certification, which we do, all the way with the transport system to the paper pulp industry, and further on out into the world with our products that provide public health, public education, energy, and a lot of other things that we today all over the world seem to think that it comes from nowhere, suddenly appears, but it's impossible to manage daily without our products that we provide from the whole sector in Europe. I would like to commend those who worked with the Strategic Research Agenda. It's not an easy task to unite all the parts of this huge sector and all the different opinions that you have when you work with foresters and businessmen and researchers. I think you've done a tremendous job, and I do hope that the Commission will see all the possibilities, and the Commission and the government jointly will see to that we can use all our opportunities together. I would like to take one example, and that is textiles. 70% of the world textile is today oil-based. Or maybe I should start even earlier. 100 huge companies provide 70% of the global CO2 emissions. 100 companies, 70%. We, on the other hand, we provide the opposite. We provide possibilities and solutions to the problems that we face when it comes to global challenges like climate or microplastics, or for that matter, jobs in rural and urban development. We've transformed an old plant into making dissolving pulp that later becomes textiles. And if we have some basic on textiles, 70% oil-based, as I said, less than 1% of all garments are recycled. On the total global production of textiles, which is more than 100 million tons, the vast majority is either incinerated or sent to landfill. And a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of all textiles is recycled. Now, what we managed to do in Mörrum, this old plant that we've transferred in the south of Sweden, where we use birch from family farms, certified forestry, is that we managed to separate cotton from polyester and then using the cotton fibers in our dissolving pulp production. We started tentatively with 30 tons by the end of the year, but our target is 25,000 tons per year. This innovation and many others will truly change the world, from originally associating textile waste with both costs and emissions. They could soon become an industrial commodity and improve both environment, health, and social conditions. And that's how the green economy works. That is only one example. We have a number of companies present here today and a number of researchers present here today that have equal solutions on how to manage forests, equally important solutions, how to manage forests, how to drive a sawmill properly, how to work with transports, and all the new products that we can take out from sustainable forestry. The question is, will we have the possibility to do this? Will the decision makers allow us to use the immense opportunities and solutions that we can provide? Today, the country of Czechia is struggling with the bark beetle on spruce, and as the insects eat its way through traditional forest land in Czechia, the country is worried about the LULUCF regulation and what will happen. Will they, on top of losing the landscape, the jobs, the opportunities, also be put in front of the European Court for infringement of the LULUCF emission corridor? We have to adjust the European regulation to what we can do and what we want to do and the daily conditions when it comes to forest and the forest sector. We also have to fight a lot of misunderstandings. The forests have a three-parted offer. Of course, job and development, better economy, social solutions, rural development. Secondly, CO2 uptake of a dimension that is huge, and here we're talking volumes and global solutions on the climate problem. And thirdly, substitution, to be able to substitute oil-based products for bio-based products with a much better environmental status. And if we look at some of the political agreements that has been negotiated lately, we see that it looks like people don't understand that growing trees have a CO2 uptake. Trees are a little bit like human beings. You could start doing simple jobs and help your mother and father when you're 5, 6 years old, and then you have a work life, and then afterwards something else comes. It's the same for trees, and the CO2 uptake reverses into methane emissions. So from a climate point of view, standing forest is not good. Growing forest is the solution. And this we have to tell all the decision makers. Otherwise, we risk that we will only use maybe the first and second offers from the forestry sector and not the third one on substitution. And against this background, I am worried that the efforts to introduce a European Green Deal are being kidnapped by interest groups with the aim of significantly reducing opportunities for biomaterials as a whole, which will lead to less circularity and fewer innovations based on renewable raw materials. And of course, we could see the 100 big companies behind some of the campaigns that we meet. The Green Deal would become a Black Friday for advocates of fossil-based and linear processes. And this would be a tragedy, not only for our sector and for all the people that work and strive for a sustainable future, but also exactly for this sustainable future. Dear friends, we know quite a great deal today, but I can also say, quite humbly, that we still need more knowledge about the role that forests and forest products can play in climate change mitigation, development and substitution. Research has a key role to play in the direction that I would like and that we are hoping for, to find broad support. Sweden is one of the world's most forested countries. Forest covers about 70% of the country, and half of all the forest land is family-owned or private-owned. But forests are not only growing in Sweden. Over the past 100 years, forests have grown by 1/3 across Europe. More than 40% of Europe is now forest land. Europe is becoming greener and greener, even visually, and there is something very hopeful about that. At the same time, deforestation and environmental degradation happens also in our part of the world, but is on a huge scale in other parts of the world. And this is a major concern, and we would be facing a global loss of carbon stocks, which would, as you all know, enter us into a very, very difficult stage. As well as mutual exchange within the European Union, we also need to show the rest of the world how socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable forestry can be carried out. We too have a history of exploitation in which natural conditions were cast aside. But there is also another story in which old mistakes have become important lessons. Sweden was among the first to introduce an extensive afforestation program, followed by many other countries after World War II. We all have different approaches to forestry, but developments of the past century in Sweden, in Finland, and other parts of Europe have been guided by a common denominator. We want to leave things better than we found them. For every tree harvested, we plant 2 or 3 new ones. That is the underlying premise of our forest policy. But the bioeconomy does not end with forest estates, even though that's where it starts. Based on existing research on substitution effects, we have measured the climate change impact of our own operations. And I take this example again from Södra, as I know this best, bear with me. But when we, together with 3 universities, look at our climate emissions or climate uptake, we see that the 52,000 family forest owners in Södra has a very positive climate change impact. It is equal, actually, and then we've taken the growing forests, what we use in the industry and transport as a minus, adding substitution. And the result is that we equal 20% of the Swedish national reported emissions, only Södra. This means 50 hectares of family forest is equaling the emissions of 40 Swedish national persons per year. This result of substitution, I think SCA has done the same, the Swedish forest industry also have done the same equations. And this is, of course, amazing. This kind of counting and using science to see the real net effect has to be improved. And this approach to measuring climate change impacts must be developed more. And that presents a fantastic opportunity for the European Union to show the way by incorporating this perspective into the European Green Deal, by funding research, by raising the issue politically, and opening it up for debate. We should welcome the fact that climate change awareness is growing, not least because of young people and the power of protests. But still, 100 companies in oil and coal provide 70% of the global emissions. We are here providing solutions and opportunities. But we must also be prepared to deliver sustainable solutions, explain complex relationships, and meet the demands of citizens and consumers, both today and tomorrow. If we don't take this seriously, social engagement could instead lead to radicalism and create political disorder. And then we won't be equipped to tackle climate change challenges at all, because we would have other problems to tackle. If we want to achieve real change, we must work together with other sectors. An example, we can create biomethanol for fossil-free shipping in the Baltic Sea, but this will never be realized if shipping companies are not involved, if research and technology development stand still, or if policies and authorities remain passive. Academic, business, and government sectors have an important role to play in this regard. And the FTP Vision 2040 provides an excellent platform for cooperation. So let's discuss the future and let's take this challenge. We are ready. We are ready to provide solutions to global challenges, and this will be demonstrated today. Thank you very much.